Senegal, the Senegalese president calling for calm. And we're joined on the line this morning by Paulin Maurice Toupane, senior research analyst at the Institute of Security Studies. Paulin, good morning to you. Welcome to the show. Paulin, good morning to you.
Okay.
Paulin, good morning. We seem to be having a problem. Aziad, my engineer, is going to try and fix the problem for some reason or the other. It's either they can't hear me or I can't hear them. And let's just try and see what we can do to fix the situation. But we've seen in the last week where thousands of young people have taken to the streets, and we've seen a number of people that have died. And protesters obviously are venting their anger, their frustrations on a number of issues, unemployment, inequality, and corruption, which is one of the issues that is plaguing the African continent in more countries than one, and not Senegal alone. So these protests obviously have turned very, very ugly, and with the opposition also calling for the release of political prisoners or detained individuals. And the situation is quite dire at this point in time. But also over and above that, for some reason or the other, there seems to be a target on French stores and petrol stations in Senegal as well. Now, is there an anti-government and an anti-French sentiment that is also brewing? And this seems to be unraveling out in the streets of Senegal, in Dakar in particular. So we are still trying quite hard to get hold of Paulin Maurice Toupane, the senior research analyst at the Institute for Security Studies. I have got the thumbs up. Paulin, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Yes, wonderful having you with us, and we thank you for your time with us this morning on the show. And just looking at Senegal at this point in time, and we've seen reports about protests that continue, and at the end of the day, it is becoming quite an ugly situation. Yes, good morning to you. Well, I think we are having a problem, and at this point in time, I think what we will do is we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media coming to you live from South Africa.
When I think of the times you were here with me, it makes me smile so happily. Those were the days, but now you're far away. And I pray for the day when I'll see you again. May Allah protect you wherever you are. No matter where you are, you're never too far. 'Cause here in my heart is where you will remain. And I promise you this until my dying day. Oceans apart, always in my heart. Many miles in between, but that doesn't mean you're gone. Fear man in love, in God. May Allah protect you until we meet again, my friend. Time passes by, you're on my mind. Everything that I do reminds me of you. Brother, believe in these words that I say. Nothing's the same since you're gone away. May Allah protect you wherever you are.
Time is just gone 9:39 a.m. and unfortunately we could not get hold of Paulin Maurice Toupane, Senior Research Analyst at the Institute of Security Studies. It appears that there have been major signal issues on his side. But nevertheless, we will still continue. We still have got Voice of the Cape's news editor, Tasneem Adam, who's calling it a day. She is bidding farewell to Voice of the Cape after 14 years of service. So we'll be talking to her at around 10 minutes to 10 a.m. But in studio with me, we have got Shazia Zubair Osman and we've got Muhammad Arai. Shazia, assalamu
Salam,
alaikum.
Uncle Inayat. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Midweek,
Yeah,
how's the week gone for you so far?
it's been a long week.
A long week already.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. What are we, Mohammed? Assalamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam. Thanks for
It's been a
having
longer
me.
week for you.
It's been a longer week.
Yeah, I know your week starts on a Sunday.
On a
ne?
Sunday, that's right, yeah.
Right. Shazia, what we got? What we talking about?
I actually wanted to let everybody know that we have a really cool interview coming up on Miriam's show afterwards.
And that's today?
Yeah, today.
Right. Okay.
So we'll be speaking to Femida Jordan. A lot of people know her as Fems from Fems Mocktails or the Halal Goods Market creator.
Right.
So we were actually going to talk to her about her interracial marriage, how she brought up her children, as well as how the community received her getting married to her husband.
Now, is there any reason why we're doing this interview?
I'm sure everybody, besides maybe Uncle Knight and Mohammed, has watched the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry interview with Oprah.
Well, I don't watch, but I am fully aware of the issues. Don't worry, we are in touch, Mohammed. What does Shazia think?
I took offense to that because yesterday I clearly remember you receiving the video from Uncle Inayat of the interview. So I'm not sure why you're pointing fingers here.
We all know which interview Uncle Knight sent me.
Nonetheless, that's we can have a
Mohammed, do you take
discussion
an
off
interest in these things, by the way?
Naturally, I don't. Gossip, I don't. It's pop culture. It's gossip. It's sensational news, which I don't take keen interest to. But this is different. This time, it's about the monarchy. It's about interracial marriages. It's about the issue of kids growing up, belonging to interracial couples. So this is not just another page. What do you call it? Page 3, page 6 discussion or matter. It's quite intense with the monarch, the queen, and the entire debacle that's going on.
Yeah, I think what's happening is this term royal blood seems to be featuring very, very prominently in terms of blue blood. And I think this is, like you said, for me, these things don't even matter. I don't even take any interest in what is happening. Like you said, it's sensationalism, sometimes it's gossip. But I think this whole angle surrounding the racism, because I know, with this interview, there's been certain questions that have been raised, how light the child is going to be, how dark the child is going to be. Now, these are issues that are cropping up, and that's why I say, the royal family are very, very finicky when it comes to these type of things. And the question surrounding royal blood, is because they talk about bloodlines and they're looking at future generations. Am I right, Shazia?
That's true. They did speak.
Okay, so is that the reason why we're having this interview?
Yeah. That is basically why, in light of it. So if anybody has comments and stuff for Fems directly, please check our Instagram page out, which is /media_on_air on Instagram, and drop us your question on our story. I have a little question poll. You can drop your question and let us know what you'd like to ask them.
Yes.
Can I just, sorry to interject. Before we wrap up, I think we have to give a shout out to Nasreen for actually taking this angle and for, being a new content producer behind the radio and trying to take this angle to this entire debacle of Prince Harry and the entire interview at Oprah. So, yeah, shout out to Nasreen, eh?
Well done.
Well, certainly. But I think, like I said, Mohammed, and I think just before we take leave of both of you, and we've got Tasneem Adam obviously coming up shortly, and I'm looking forward to this discussion because she's made quite a contribution. But just from a media perspective, and, the entire media seem to have been focusing on this interview with Oprah, and they make big story. But that is what media is about. Mainstream media is all about, and they thrive on these type of stories. Whereas I think you and I and some of us will think differently that, what is the big deal surrounding this thing? And for me, I think personally, obviously, I think there are bigger issues. There are far major issues around the world than to worry about these type of stories. But these are stories itself. Unfortunately, these are things that make headline news.
Yeah. And this story has been making, and not just the actual interview, but also if you go on social media, if you go on Twitter, the hashtags that you see on Twitter. So it's not just the audience of the interview itself, but also the conversation post interview, and the conversations going on social media using the various relevant hashtags. So yeah, as you have said, it sells, and it sells really massively.
Well, certainly. Shazia, was it 11 o'clock?
11 o'clock, on the mid-morning talk with Miriam Kwanda.
Well, Jazakallah to both of you for coming in studio. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Well, that brings us straight on to 9:46 a.m. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Tasneem Adam.
And when you're competing for their attention against their smartphones, you need to make smart choices, like using Sunfoil triple refined pure sunflower oil in every meal you make. It's naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether you're cooking, frying, or baking, you get the great tasting results that'll get their attention faster than the latest app. And if that doesn't work, change the Wi-Fi password. Sunfoil. Now we're cooking.
Did you know a sponsored water well and borehole allows children to go back to school, empowers communities, and is a means of sadaqah jariyah for you? There are many villages in Africa and Afghanistan that are in need of water wells and boreholes. Africa. Sponsor a water well in Africa for just 12,000 rands, or a borehole in Africa and Afghanistan for 49,500 rands. Call Africa Muslims Agency now on 011 834 8685 or donate online at africamuslimsagency.co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice. For over 80 years, Osman's Taj Mahal have been perfecting the art of the perfect blend of spices, pure, aromatic, and well-seasoned. Spices to tantalize your taste buds. From creative cuisines to gastronomical gourmet goodies. From exotic odors to traditional dishes, Osman's Taj Mahal have remained synonymous with quality spices and condiments. Taj Mahal rice, beans, and lentils. Try our range of chili bite mixes, rose and ilachi syrup, our quick and easy biryani pack, and our traditional range of spice blends. Osman's Taj Mahal. There is no substitute for quality.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
The time is just gone 12 minutes to 10 a.m. And as we head towards closure on News and Views this morning, we are joined this morning by Voice of the Cape's news editor, Tasneem Adam. Now, she is bidding farewell to the radio station after 14 years of service. Tasneem, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Mr. Wadi, and your beloved listeners as well.
Well, Tasneem, we've had so many engagements in the past with regards to, our media interactions. And it does appear as if this is going to be an end of an era for you 14 years later. Oh. But I suppose it feels a lifetime for you.
Absolutely, it is indeed the end of an era. It's been so emotional at the station for the past few days, interacting with my colleagues and people that have left the station, and many people, struggling to come to terms with the news that I'm actually leaving. A lot of people that I spoke to said they never thought they'd see the day that Tasneem would leave Voice of the Cape, because I've had such a long run here. 14 years is a long time at one organization, particularly in the area of media. But alhamdulillah, I think, everything comes with its own time, and now is just the time to move on. I've done a lot at Voice of the Cape. I've mentored a lot of young journalists. I've been part of a lot of projects within Voice of the Cape and other departments, not within news as well, not just news as well. I'm content with the decision. Of course, it's mixed emotions today. I'm feeling very sad. But it's bittersweet. I'm excited for the journey ahead. And as I told, everybody that's been asking me, why am I leaving? It's simply for self-development, for personal growth, It's to explore, to challenge myself, to get out of my comfort zone, and to explore an area of media that I've always wanted to work in, which is TV and television news.
Wow, so you're not lost to the media, but Tasneem,
No.
just take us through this journey of yours, with Voice of the Cape, this journey of 14 years. How did it start? What are some of the key issues, the defining moments in your life that shaped you as a media personality?
Well, I started here as, I would say, a rookie journalist under Munadia Khan, the late Munadia Khan, who was very instrumental in shaping me as a journalist. As you know, Munadia was a very strong-willed, very passionate, very robust media personality, and she was very hard on us as journalists, and she really kept us on our toes, put us through our paces as young journalists. And also, obviously, with the expertise of Shafiq Morton, who you know quite well, him being a key figure at the station. He was certainly key in my development, as well as my former news editor, Shanaz Ibrahim, as well, who's also moved on from Voice of the Cape. So those are the figures that sort of played an instrumental role in my development as a journalist over the years. From then, 4 years as a journalist, I then became the news editor, having to take over the reins of the department at a very critical and uncertain time within the station, and having also been thrown in the deep end and not necessarily having had the experience of being within a management position and having to steer the ship of a newsroom. So that was certainly difficult. It had so many challenges, but I think I sort of rose to the occasion, and with the support of senior management here. A lot of key changes were made over the years with me at the helm of the newsroom. But certainly, I think one of the key things I've learned within media, and I'm sure you can identify with this, Mr. Whitey, is that you have to have a thick skin. You are constantly at the face of criticism within the organization, and obviously with outside. I've always just learned that you can't be everything to everyone. You have to roll with the punches. This is an industry that can be very volatile and tumultuous at times. It can be very stressful, and you certainly just have to learn to deal with that. And that's one of the key lessons that I think I've drawn from my experience here, is that I've become more stronger in terms of my character. That I'm a lot more confident. I came here being a very naive and very introverted young woman, very shy. I was just simply thrust into being on air and doing the news, and that sort of brought me out of my shell and made me challenge myself. And for that, I'm extremely grateful.
Well, certainly, but also I think when one looks at media organizations like Voice of the Cape, and obviously community-based, a lot of emphasis on the local community. But looking at it from a news perspective, and this is your area where you were the news editor. And in terms of finding a balance between news, what is of interest to the community, and at the same time, we know we are competing against mainstream media, mainstream news as well. But the key issue here is to find that balance, because what is of interest to the community, what would keep the community glued to a community-based radio station, and to find that balance. And it's not only about community, it's about local, it's about what's happening on a national level, what's happening on an international level as well, because these are all areas of interest that are to communities.
Yeah, I was struggling to make out what you were saying, Mr. Wadi, but I'm just gonna, just run with it. I think, what we were always told, and particularly by Munadia Khan, is that we do what we do best, which is community Muslim issues. That is how we set ourselves apart from mainstream media. They do what they do, and we as Muslims, we do things differently. That has always been the slogan. It's actually the slogan on one of the news jingles as well. So I think I've always sort of kept that in mind. And for me, being at Voice of the Cape and within the community, especially within Islamic media, it's an amana, and it's a duty that I've always told my staff we should never take lightly. It's a privilege. It's a heavy burden to bear sometimes, but it's a great privilege to be able to be in a space where you are really at